Happy New Year, everybody!
Maligayang bagong taon sa inyong lahat.
새해 복 많이 받으세요.
Kulusta naman tayo, We did it! Justin here!
And Sarah here.
Today, we will be talking more on a follow-up encounter with his dad. As you guys know from our second video, I believe, when he first brought me to his parents' place to introduce me for the first time as his fiance. That didn't go so well, and Justin here tried to set up a follow-up meeting with his dad. I think his dad did agree at some point that he will see, but yes, he would agree to meeting up again after that encounter with just myself, Justin, and Justin's dad. So just so you guys know, it did happen. We did end up meeting up with his dad, but not till about 6 months after that first encounter. Okay guys, before we go on any further, please excuse the both of us. We're actually still recovering from a really bad cold. We contracted a bad cold over the Christmas season. But yeah, please forgive us if you do catch us coughing or sneezing and, spreading our germs all over. You get disgusted, you're more than welcome to just, fast forward. And also we're indulging in Frouch.
You mean fruits?
Same diff.
After my dad said that he will follow up with me and then make a plan to meet with the three of us. 3 months after that is when I actually announced to my parents that we were engaged, because my original plan was to announce on that day when I brought her over, but it didn't go so well, so I didn't announce it. 3 months after, when we went out for a family lunch, that's when I announced it. So we were at a restaurant.
And for engaged. Christmas dinner.
Yeah, that was last Christmas, not this past one, but a year ago. And I said, I have one more thing to say, and I am engaged to Sarah. And that's when my mom went on. She repeated her repertoire about how she raised me for 30 some odd years. She raised me like a gold, and she sent me to private school. And then I told them where my wedding venue is going to be. It's the place that we used to go jogging as family, and we used to see a wedding taking place at that park. And then I looked at my sister first, and then I said, I would love to have you at my wedding. Will you be there? And my sister looked at me, cracked a small smile, and said, no. And then I looked at my mom and said, what about you, Mom? Will you be there at my wedding? And then she repeated her repertoire. I raised you for 37 years. How could you betray me? I sent you to private school. You heard that thing. And then I said, okay, I assume that's no. And I looked at my dad and then said, what about you, Dad? Will you be at my wedding? And then he said, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So he's teeter-tottering on the edge, not sure which way to go. So I thought, well, maybe if I push him hard enough, he might come. And it's not until 3 months after that, he finally agreed to go out for coffee with two of us. And so, but my dad did not tell my mom that he's going to meet us. So what happened was, he snuck out of the house, pretending he's gonna go get the mail from the mailbox or something like that. And then he told me to pick him up at the local community center, which is like a minute walking distance from the house. So we drove up to the community center, and then sure enough, he was standing there. So we picked him up, we went to the nearest coffee shop, and then we ordered coffee and we sat down. And that's how it began.
How it all unfolded.
So what do you remember about that
I
conversation?
don't remember, oh my goodness. This was in March 2017. Okay. What I remember was we ordered coffee and then sat at the table, and your dad did not speak a word of English. He decided to start off the conversation in Korean. I don't think he ever spoke English that entire encounter, but yeah, he looked at you and started speaking to you directly, and you two were just going back and forth in Korean, mostly your dad. And I was just sitting there enjoying my coffee, feeling all nervous, and trying my best to get a feel of the vibes that I'm getting from your dad. Like, is there a certain tone to his voice?
My dad does speak English, but he pretended like he doesn't speak English, or maybe he just claims.
But you said that it's been years since your dad has spoken to anybody in English.
Yeah,
So it's
so-
possible he's lost it and he doesn't have, how do you say this? The courage or the confidence to try again. Because it might not make sense anymore.
Maybe. So he elected to speak only in Korean. He asked me to translate, and my Korean isn't very good, so I had a hard time translating to English. When we first sat down at the coffee shop, we weren't talking anything specific about wedding. He was just talking in general. He was like, "So how was work going? Make sure you have backup plan in case you get fired from your job." Or
Why would he say
I
that?
don't know, because I've been fired from a job before.
You've been fired from your job before?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never heard this before.
Not fired, but laid off because the oil industry took a plunge.
What job are we talking about? This is way before we met?
Yeah.
Okay, then. Doesn't apply. Keep going. You said he was giving you some words of wisdom.
I don't remember what it was. It must have been.
He's
that
talking about
important.
you only have one life. I have no idea. Did he even go in that direction? He said he was talking about life choices.
Yeah, the life choices.
Not necessarily in relation to your choice of wanting to marry me, but just in general. There's a lot of things. He said something like, there's a lot of things in my life that I wish I could share with you, like life lessons and all that. Stuff like that. Life lessons.
Yeah, I think he was deliberately being very vague. He's talking about life lessons, but he never said anything about marriage or about who you should marry or what kind of woman you should marry. He didn't mention anything like that. He just talked about life lessons, and he said he learned so many, but
But he said he didn't have enough time to share all those life lessons with you, because he barely spent much time with you growing up.
But growing up, I had a very hard time getting close to my dad. He always seemed so distant. He was always in his desk with a stack of paper and a pen, always looking like he's busy writing something important.
And you didn't want to disturb him?
Yeah, and the mom always says, "So don't disturb that. He's doing something important." And I rarely got to spend time with my dad when I was young because he was always away. He would come home by dinner time. And years later, I finally took a pic at his stack of paper.
Oh my goodness, nosy little boy.
He was just doodling. He wasn't writing anything important.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Maybe he's coming up with something and he has to,
Maybe I think he was coming up with his inventions of the things that will change the world. Okay, back to our event at the coffee shop. And he started asking you questions like as if you were in a beauty pageant. So what would
Candidate
you do?
number one. What would you what?
How do you save the?
How do you save the planet?
How do you save the planet?
He didn't ask me that. Stop exaggerating.
But it was very vague questions.
What did he ask? Something like, what is the most important life lesson you've learned? And I'm like, okay, so I'm only 30. I don't know if there's much of life that I have lived enough to have like a major life lesson. I mean, I wasn't even married yet. I didn't have kids. I didn't have like much, what do you say, like too many losses in my life. It was more happy times, other than the divorce. More happy times, So anywho, it's like the most important life lesson. So lucky for me, I've had experience in college. In college, joining pageants and stuff. So it wasn't hard for me to answer. It was like, oh, I got this. I automatically respond to questions. So if anybody fires a question my way, I would almost instantly come up with an answer, not necessarily meaning it or not necessarily thinking it through before it just rolls out my tongue. So when he asked, what's the most important life lesson you've learned? I was like, should I say this to you and then Justin, and then you just translate to your dad? And he's like, yeah. So I would say the most important life lesson so far that I've learned is respect begets respect. So if you treat others around you with love, kindness, and respect, and not expect anything in return, you never know what you might get. You might be able to, worst case scenario is gain a friend, and then you never know when you'll need that friend to help you out in the future. So if you just show them acts of kindness and continue to respect them no matter how badly they disrespect you, just don't expect anything in return and hope for the best. And hopefully, something along there. I don't even remember.
I think he was expecting a different answer.
Like, I don't know what he was expecting, but I was just basing it off of work.
Because I already told my dad that your parents were divorced.
Oh my goodness.
And I think he was expecting, you had to marry your kind, otherwise what happened to my parents will happen. I think that's the answer he was expecting from you.
At some point I remember breaking down.
Yeah.
And crying.
Yeah.
Why you? I have no idea.
Yeah, like why do you
want to marry my son?
Something like that.
And then that just like hit home for me and tugged on my heartstrings. And I just became an emotional wreck. Well, I didn't go like, oh my God. I didn't go like that. I just got all choked up and teary-eyed and trying to shake it off. And I went like, well, I love your son with all my heart and soul, and there isn't anybody else I would rather be with. He's my missing puzzle piece. He is my better half. I would always be incomplete without him. And I just wish that you guys, I think that's when I started to break down. When I went like, I just wish that you guys as his parents accept the fact that I love your son to the core of my being, and that I would never do anything to hurt him or something or the other.
Right.
And I just broke down in tears because I just got emotional about having to mention, oh, I hope you guys as parents, I just wish you guys as his parents would accept me for loving your son because I just love him. I love your son because I'm after his money or breaking up his relationship with his parents or that I'm using him.
When you start breaking down, my dad looked at me and said, oh, did I ask a wrong question?
Aww.
That's
so sweet.
I think he was very inexperienced at this too, because you're the very first girl that I brought to my dad, and this was his first time ever having to experience.
You never brought any of your ex-girlfriends home?
No.
Why?
Remember, because my mom hated every ex-girlfriend I ever had.
How could she? Oh, maybe I should not even ask. How could she hate them? She hasn't even met them. Never mind. I've already experienced that firsthand. You're saying your dad did not know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
Or he didn't know how to go through with this encounter, with our coffee date together.
Right, because it was supposed to be for my dad to size up.
Get a feel
whether she's a good fit into the family.
So you mentioned something to me that he said to you about how please tell her I didn't mean for her to be hurt or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. Why did he say that? Oh, that's so sweet. And then I tried to explain to tell him that it's not that I was hurt and he didn't do anything to offend me. It's just that I'm a full bag of emotions at this point because I'm about to marry the love of my life. And I was just, it really tugged at my heartstrings to know that there is a possibility your parents would, and your sister, would not show up.
I think that was the end of the coffee date. He said he had to go back because he never told mom that he's gonna be away. So mom is probably looking for him or wondering where he went. We had to drop him off at the same community center, and then he will walk to the house.
A few blocks away from mom's place,
Yeah,
right?
so that mom won't know who dropped you off.
And then you're like, oh, I just went for a quick
for a
walk around the
walk.
block. Oh, and I had some coffee, so I guess I'm gonna go pee now. I'm just happy and appreciative that your dad took time off of his schedule and made the effort and also had the willpower to even meet up with us.
He didn't necessarily give us a blessing on the wedding or the marriage.
On that day, he didn't
Yeah.
mention anything along those lines, but we weren't looking for his blessing. Basically what we were looking for is whether he would be able to make it out to your wedding. Didn't we ask that question? We did ask him.
Yeah, and he kept saying we'll cross that bridge
We'll cross that bridge when we
there.
get there. Very vague, like we're not sure, just hopeful. So Justin and I were just hopeful up until then. People are asking when our wedding date was.
Well, stay tuned for more.
Stay tuned for more. I do speak Tagalog fluently, as many of you are wondering. I do also speak a little bit of Arabic. Also, this device here, strangely enough, somebody actually asked about it. This device right here, this black tower, is actually just an electric fan tower. That's all, not a humidifier. Oh yeah, there was a question about whether I love my dad or whether we're close or whether I'm angry or whatever. I love my dad, okay? I'm not throwing him under the bus. Okay, I'm just talking to you guys on what my childhood was like growing up under my dad's strict supervision. But I love my dad.
And we're talking
Oh
about
my
our
God.
personal life and how it affected us. We're not trying to defame Islam.
Yeah. I'm not throwing Islam under the bus either, you guys. We're just talking based on, like he said, our personal experiences. Like, I'm not talking in general. All Muslim families turn out this way. All Muslim daughters turn out like me. Like, no. Can't generalize and did not mean to generalize, okay? But I love you guys. Thank you so much for your comments, be it positive or negative.
Kept
Thank you
saying
to
that.
all you guys who support us. And hope you stay tuned for more. What is our next episode going to be about? Trip to Dubai for my best friend's wedding. Yes?
So,
And first time you met Dad.
yeah. Alright then, stay tuned guys.
Thanks for watching.
Baboosh.
Mwah.